This faux border technique creates a border around your front fabric that is actually just your back fabric wrapped around to the front. And it creates these beautiful mitered corners, and I'll show you how. So for my sample, I have an 8 by 12 front rectangle, and whatever size you're doing, you want to cut your back rectangle 4 inches larger in each dimension. So I have 8 by 12, and then I have 12 by 16. And I've marked the centers on my back, and I marked the center on my front fabric. So I marked it on the wrong side of my front fabric and the right side of my back fabric. And then on the wrong side of my front fabric, I've also marked a 1/4 inch from each corner. So I've kind of marked like a little 1/4 inch box in each of these corners. That's where we're going to start and stop stitching. So to start, we're going to mark or match our center marks on one long edge, and we are going to start and stop stitching at our 1/4 inch marks in the corner. So we're going to start with our needle down right in that 1/4 inch corner, lock the stitch, and then use our 1/4 inch seam and we're going to end stitching right in this 1/4 inch corner. Lock the stitch, cut my thread, and then we are going to scoot this down and do the same thing on this other long edge, except we need to leave an opening for turning. So let me make sure I got my mark correct. And I'm going to pin, leave a couple of inches in the center here for turning. And then we're going to do the same thing, starting and stopping right at that 1/4 inch mark. So I'm stitching up to the edge of my opening, lock that, jump over my opening, and then end again right here in this corner, 1/4 inch from the edge. And then we're going to do same thing, scoot this over, align those center marks, and here at the corner, we want to make sure this little extra triangle stays out of the way. Keeping our raw edges aligned there. And again, make sure this little triangle stays out of the way. And again, we're going to start and then stop right in that 1/4 inch mark. So we're going to be starting and stopping stitching in exactly the same spot as we started or stopped stitching on the previous seam. And that is going to help us get those perfect mitered corners. sure that excess stays tucked out of the way. And for the last edge, same process. Tug that up, match that center. And then start stitching right at the corner, right where we stopped stitching on that previous seam line. Okay, so there we have all of my corners stitched. Now to miter our corners, we are going to fold this so that our raw edges align and our point is right at the corner there. I'm going to grab my ruler and I'm going to align my one of my straight lines, doesn't matter which one, with this fold, and then align it right at our point where we stopped stitching. So there's my point right there. My line is aligned with the fold, and then I'm going to draw a line. And there's my stitching line for mitering my corner. I'll put a pin right in there so I don't lose it. And then I'm going to start stitching again right where we started and stopped stitching before. And then stitch right along this line, right off the fold. And then we're going to trim that down about 1/4 inch. And we're going to do the same thing on all 4 corners. All right, I have all 4 of my corners stitched and I'm trimming off that excess, and then we're going to turn this all right side out. I'm going to grab my point turner, and then once we get our corners pushed out, you can see how we have a beautiful miter at every corner. So there's one, and our back fabric has wrapped around to the front to create that faux border. Here's my last corner. And now I'm going to give this a little press. I'm going to press my seam allowances toward that border, and then when we top stitch, it's going to close up this opening, and you have a placemat or table runner, anything you want to do with this project. It's up to you. any size. Just make sure that backing is 4 inches larger than the front, and that gives you this 1 inch border all the way around. So there is my opening right there. I've got my front fabric, and then that border fabric is tucked right under. So all you need to do is top stitch on that border all the way around, and then you have your finished border top stitched, pivoting at the corners, and you have these beautiful mitered corners for whatever type of project you want to use this faux border technique for.